So, Dad, what happened in our history?
Well, son, let me tell you. It all started with the Minoans.
They were some pretty crazy people. They were advanced in their metalworking. They advanced some gods and goddesses. But then they got destroyed by the Maetians.
Aww.
Maetians were pretty dumb by the looks of their armor, but they were in history. Yes, sir.
What about the stories?
Those are all about gods and goddesses. Those are just myths told by oracles mostly. Those oracles.
Any games?
Yeah, in fact, they were the Olympic Games. This was the Greeks' chance to show their strength and please the gods.
Why did they have these games?
Well, the archons of the aristocracies made this happen.
Wasn't there any government?
They were the government until democracy came into the picture. Then everything changed.
They sounded like pretty bad guys.
Well, those archons were, but there were a few that were okay, like Draco. He was an archon who created the first written law code, but they were pretty harsh. Then Solon came along. He came into power to help the people who were in debt.
Did anybody else help the government?
Yeah, there was Pisistratus, who was a tyrant who helped improve the economy and clashed with nobles in Athens. Then there was Cleisthenes, who seized power in Athens and turned it into a democracy. He's the one that turned it over.
What is democracy?
Democracy is a type of government where all citizens participate directly in making decisions. So the people's word get put into vote for what happens.
How do you know all this?
Well, we know all this from historians. The first one is Herodotus. He was the first ever historian in the Western world.
Any wars?
Of course, there was the Persian War. This war were between the Greeks and the Persians. The Greeks rebelled against Persia. It was totally awesome, and we won it all. And after the war, there was this guy named Cyrus. They call him Cyrus the Great, but he really was not that great. He just conquered some Greek colonies. He didn't do it all that well. He was kind of a loser.
Then what did we do?
Well, we revolted against Cyrus. But those plans were changed by this guy named Darius. He was a Persian ruler, and he kind of stopped us from revolting against the Persians. He was very much hated.
Wow, those are pretty bad times.
Yes, indeed. But then there was the great ruler Pericles. He was a general and speaker who made us very successful. And as if this world couldn't get any worse, Darius had a son named Xerxes. He was another general who led fleets against us. He was pretty much a loser like his father.
Were there any other battles?
Why, of course. There was the Battle of Marathon. This was a battle where Darius attacked us, but we won, of course. Another truly heroic story of a battle was the Battle of Thermopylae. This was a battle that was truly amazing. The Spartans held their ground against the Persians and gave us time to prepare for the Persians. Clearly they were outnumbered, but they fought against them anyway, and they gave us just enough time.
How did they get you that much time?
Well, probably because of the Spartan leader Leonidas. He led them in the Battle of Thermopylae, and he probably is the reason we had so much time. He was pretty much amazing.
Years later,
we didn't get along very well with Sparta, and a war broke out between us. This was the Peloponnesian War. Then there was a leader named Themistocles who led us out of the city to escape that total loser Xerxes. We were saved. He tricked him into fighting the Athenian troops, and we survived.
Wow, we had some pretty good armies.
Yes, we did. Even much so that there were leaders and kings who modeled their armies after us. Example, Philip II of Macedon. He designed his armies much like ours because of our strength. King of Macedon, there was this public speaker named Demosthenes who spoke against Philip. I don't know why. Philip was such a great guy. Despite this hateful speech against Philip, he had a child named Alexander, and he was quite great. He wanted world domination. He was a very successful general. Unfortunately, he didn't get world domination, even though that would have led to a great world. But he was very successful. You need to know about history, son.
Wow. But what do we call it?
This is called Hellenism. It's pretty much our way of life, combining all of our historical ideas and values and putting them into our daily lives.